Hello everyone, my name is Julian Baker and I am what I would call a functional anatomist. That is someone who brings their anatomical understanding to function from a body-wide perspective. I've been a hands-on therapist. I've been doing Bowen for over 30 years, and for the last 12 I've been running human dissection classes specifically for aimed at manual and movement therapists, physios, Pilates, yoga and so forth, examining how traditional anatomy doesn't really explain some of the things that we see when we work with our clients, and aiming to give some insights as to how things are a bit more joined up. Traditional anatomy, anatomy, they're two words meaning cut up, and they tend to break things down into parts and name them, and that's fine, of course, but that's medical anatomy, and that's aimed at the study of medicine, and it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense for us to be able to study that kind of anatomy from movement therapy perspective, a manual therapy perspective, because there's a lack of relationships in that way of studying, and this leads us to a little bit of a failure to disconnect in terms of understanding how our stability and our movement and our loading is related body-wide. Over the years of running these dissection classes, I've gathered thousands of photographs and hundreds of thousands of videos in the dissection lab, and I'm going to be taking this enforced desk time, if you like, to try and bring some of my thoughts and ideas to how I think about anatomy, how I think it should be taught, and trying to explain a little bit of joined up thinking, and to bring you some of those in a series of webinars that I'll be putting out over the coming weeks and months. My approach is to keep things relatively simple and as light-hearted as possible, and to try and give you a different way of thinking about things and a different way of seeing things. My tenet is that if you can't explain something simply, then you probably don't fully understand it yourself, and so to that end I aim to try and get to grips with the subject myself before I fully explain it to others. I'm not always going to say I'm going to succeed. I'm not an anatomist in that respect, but I'll give it a shot. I'm unique in this field in as much as I'm one of the only people in the world who run human dissection classes, and I do the dissection myself and teach people, but I also have a hands-on practice, so I have a practical application to what I'm looking at, and everything I look at and everything I teach has to have a practical point that could be translated into helping our clients. But of course all this is also based on good, sound anatomical and physiological logic and evidence, and it's just that it's coming at it from a slightly different angle from the work that I do. So I'm pretty excited to be finally getting all these things together and showing you what I'm thinking in this sort of pretty unique series of webinars, and I'll be covering lots of areas of the body and showing sort of the slides, videos, and explaining connection, function, physiology, maybe an occasional bit of biochemistry too. And then eventually what I'd like to do, if we have enough time, is to get into some practical approaches and start to do some palpation as well. The first session in this series is a free webinar, and it's based on a presentation I gave a few years ago at the British Fascia Symposium in 2016, looking at what fascia is, where it comes from, exploding some of the myths that we have around it. There's been a lot of talk about fascia in manual therapies over the years, and I wanted to sort of try and shine a bit of a light and dispel a few myths around some of the magical ideas that have sprung up around fascia. The information in these is, I believe, not available anywhere else from this perspective, and I think it contains images and videos that it definitely contains pictures and ways of looking at things that you just won't find in any anatomy book. It's just not done. So please join me for these pretty amazing and informative sessions, and the feedback's been great so far. I'm sure you're going to really enjoy having a little look and seeing what comes out from them, and I'm convinced that it will really change your ideas about anatomy and the human form, and allow you to see what you think you're feeling or moving. So look forward to seeing you there.